Hi friends, and welcome to my StellarBlade 2 wishlist video. Of course, I adore this game, so since release I've been thinking about changes I would like to see in the next game, or new features, and you know, as great as it is, there's always things we can improve, so let's get into it. Number 1, I'll start with my ideal premise for a sequel, which is actually to make a prequel. Since we get thrown into the middle of a storyline where so much has already happened, it'd be cool to go backwards and experience what built up to the opening moments of StellarBlade. I'd love to see what Taki and Raven were up to, and their relationship before they became enemies. Maybe we could play through some of the first 6 planet dives, since Eve is a member of the 7th squad to visit Earth. In this prequel I'm dreaming up, we take turns playing as Taki and Raven, learn about their backstory, and even witness the creation of Eve at the end of the game. This would add more weight to the events of StellarBlade 1, similar to how in the Yakuza franchise, Yakuza 0 strengthens the plot of Yakuza 1. As a bonus, after beating the game, Eve can be unlocked as a playable character so that you can run through the campaign using her moveset. Next, I'd be so happy if we got something like a Bloody Palace mode. In case you're unfamiliar, Bloody Palace is a game mode that's been a mainstay in the Devil May Cry franchise, outside of the first game, so basically since the beginning. Or think of the Colosseum in Kingdom Hearts. You face wave after wave of enemy mobs, with boss fights sprinkled in, and if you die, you start over. It's a fun way to practice combat and allows the developers to create unique challenges by throwing unusual enemy compositions at you. Of course, I must acknowledge that we don't have arcadey combat like in a game such as Devil May Cry 3, which is my favorite third-person action game of all time. Since StellarBlade's combat is much more methodical like Sekiro, I don't see big mobs being particularly fun to fight against, unless we got better crowd control tools. For example, in StellarBlade 1, you can't parry simultaneous attacks, so if 2 enemies attack you at the exact same time and you parry, one of the attacks will connect. But anyway, similar to how we got a Corruptor/Dozer fight in Eidos 9, I think other double boss fights would be very fun too. Double Brute, for example, or Double Stalker, those would be cool. With some creativity, Shift Up could make it really fun. And it'd be even more fun if there were the option to play online and local co-op in this hypothetical arena mode. In the Nintendo Switch version of DMC3, they added local co-op to Bloody Palace, so you can play as Dante and Virgil and run through with a friend, and it's great fun. If we've got co-op, the game could be titled StellarBlades, and then we'd be cooking with gas. This next point on my wish list is maybe a tall ask, but you gotta open your mouth to get fed. And what I want is daily or weekly challenges, maybe even both. If you've ever played the indie game Spelunky, you know that game had awesome daily challenges, and you'd only get one shot at them, so if you die, come back tomorrow. A score-based daily challenge would give more players a reason to boot up the game again, and helps to maintain some buzz online. Plus, adding a leaderboard for these challenges would add a sense of community. The YouTube content would pretty much create itself with something like this, and I think it'd be fun for both players and spectators alike because you would never know what to expect. How I'm imagining this game mode is, like Spelunky, it's a roguelike experience, and every player would face the same dungeon, so to speak. In these challenges, you'd get a different toolkit each time. Limited abilities, maybe some weird stipulations, like instead of the usual gamut of healing items you're used to in the main game, well, for today's challenge, you get 10 potions, but they're all biotic fields. So do your best not to get hit while trying to heal because here's a bunch of ranged enemies. Or, for today's challenge, you can't jump. Maybe for the boss at the end, you're used to jumping to avoid their unblockable attacks, well, you better adapt quickly. How about this one? Your shotgun is beefed up for today's challenge, but you only get X amount of shells, so you better spend them wisely. Do you want to burn them on this mob of enemies, or save them for the boss at the end, which you don't even know what boss it is? And while these daily challenges should be fairly short experiences, like if you make it to the end and beat it, it would take you maybe 20 to 30 minutes at the most. We could also have weekly challenges, and the difference would be that you can retry these, so you could aim for a higher score before the new week turns over. Maybe they could be a little bit harder since you get the ability to retry and you're not going in just blind. How about for this week's challenge, your health is constantly depleting, albeit very slowly, kind of like that one mission in the middle of DMC3. If there are branching paths within the challenges, that's perfect for a weekly challenge as well. Depending on what new mechanics we get in the next game, the sky's the limit for how creative Shift Up could get with these challenges. Next on my list is more combos. Whether Shift Up's intention is to keep the combat methodical or make it a little more arcadey, I'd be happy either way, but if they do keep things methodical, I think there's still room for more combos. They can expand the combo list with held inputs like Onslaught 3 and StellarBlade 1, or with delays between inputs. I'd especially appreciate an attack that launches the enemy, or it could launch multiple enemies, launch them into the air with the option to follow up too. We could have several combo options from this airborne stance, or even if it's just the aerial string we're used to now, but let us continue attacking after launching. And while we're at it, since we already have offset combos with beta skills, but it's pretty hard to do, just make it an actual mechanic. Here's some footage of what I'm talking about when I say offset combos. I made a YouTube short back during the demo days about these offset combos along with the unintended branching combos, and I saw some comments misunderstanding the video, but since the branching combos got patched out shortly after the full game came out, I didn't feel it was worth talking about again. Next on my list is more difficulty options. What I really want is a hard plus mode where regular parries aren't possible, so you're forced to execute perfect parries. And kind of like how we have New Game Plus now, give us a remix mode with different enemy placements, or maybe just more enemies. If you've played Devil May Cry 4's Legendary Dark Knight mode, I don't mean that extreme with the number of enemies on screen, but enough to change the feel of the playthrough so that it's fresh enough to incentivize players to give the game another go. Or remix could increase enemy move speed and attack speed, so the whole game is now 50% faster. Enjoy learning the timings again. But don't worry, your attacks are also 50% faster to balance things. It would make playing for multiple endings more fun too. Resident Evil 3 Remake had a sweet remix difficulty called Inferno, where it was much harder, but to balance things you got stronger gear right off the bat. While we're talking about difficulty, give me the ability to turn my shields off without having to go skin suit. That way we can do challenge runs while still wearing cool costumes. You know, I love my challenge runs. Okay, moving on, here's a simple one, manual saves. In StellarBlade 1, I know we've got camps which are akin to Dark Souls bonfires, and if you could just drop a manual save anywhere, you'd be losing a little bit of tension, but since StellarBlade isn't punishing like Dark Souls is, where if you die, you know, you don't lose your experience, like losing your souls, I think just let us save. At least in safe zones, like resting at a camp, let us save. You know, I want to have manual saves, and even from a casual perspective, I think that everyone could benefit from having saves before, you know, like your favorite segments. Like, for example, any of the various one-time escape sequences, or the hypertube, just to name a couple. And then, of course, as a speedrunner, it would just be really nice to be able to practice certain segments whenever I want. Currently, if you want to practice a specific segment, you have to, number one, have PS Plus so that you can use cloud saves, and turn off auto-upload for said cloud saves. Number two, start a new game, and play up to just before wherever you want to practice, and trigger an autosave at a camp or something. And then number three, you have to manually upload your save to the PS Plus cloud. So now you can play through your segment, and whenever you want to reload it, just manually download your cloud save again so that you can go to before that segment. That's what I did for 3 of my 5 save slots. And oh, actually, while we're in this area, how come there's a hard limit of 5 save slots? We don't need 99 like Kingdom Hearts, but at least a dozen or something. So to wrap this video up, I've got some more kind of rapid fire ones. I'm not going to be expounding as much on these. Alright, a stats screen. At the end of each playthrough, give me a stats screen that also displays an in-game timer for that playthrough. This would be a joy for growing the speedrunning aspect of the game. And a global stats page would be neat too, like total parries, total perfect parries, total perfect dodges, enemies routed, total damage taken, total damage dealt, time spent airborne, you could do some fun ones like that, total tumblers used, time spent resting at camps, stuff like that. Give me the ability to cycle through ammo types in real time to make gameplay even more fluid. I'm thinking like how you switch items in Elden Ring. Let me equip or unequip certain ammos and always return to the top of the list by holding the button down. I'd love more beta and burst skills, at least 8 per, that way for each face button we have a choice of 2. This is an easy one. Let me hold down the X button to speed through dialogue instead of having to repeatedly press the button. You know what, this can just be patched into StellarBlade 1. Please give us this. It would save speedrunners, you know, some durability on our X buttons. And speaking of things that they could just add to the current game, remappable controls. Every game should have this, that's a no-brainer. I'd like another weapon or 2, maybe with a transitional attack like God of War 3 had, where you could press L1 plus X to do a really smooth attack to go into the next weapon. That'd be pretty cool. And it will give us an option to switch weapons without having to like move your thumb to the D-pad. Okay, here's another one. A larger upgrade tree for our drone. I'd really enjoy more variety in the gunplay, and for example, like with the shotgun, adding stun could be an upgrade instead of being baked in, because You could alternatively upgrade towards a damage over time effect being applied to your shots, such as burn or poison. I think that'd be fun to play around with. Here's a quality of life one. When you bring an enemy's balance down to 0 and they're in a groggy state, let us see how much time we have left before they get up again. It could be as simple as seeing the yellow balance bar filling back up. So when that last diamond is about to turn yellow, then we know it's our last chance to get that retribution in. And while we're on the subject of retributions, when an enemy is groggy, let us keep doing combos that include triangle inputs. Change the retribution command to like L1 plus R1 or something that doesn't interfere with anything else. Here's some little cosmetic wishes. Give us makeup options. I think that'd be a lot of fun to play around with, like being able to put cat eyes or different eyeliner options, mascara, blush, etc. And let me mix and match outfit pieces wherever possible. Like maybe I want to wear the monokini but with jeans over them, or I want to wear the punk tops jacket over my default planet diving suit. My very last wish is more of a practice tool for speedrunning, but in boss challenge, allow me to adjust my sword's damage level to whatever I want. For example, if my blood edge is always at level 8 when I fight this specific boss, I want to be able to emulate that in boss challenge. It would make for more accurate practice. And that's it for my wish list. So let me know your thoughts. What would you change about my wishes? What are some of your own unique wishes? Please, let's have a discussion in the comments. And if you're new here, I stream at least 3 days a week. This year, 2024, we have done almost 700 hours of streams. Most of it is StellarBlade. And I also play games adjacent to StellarBlade. We've been doing a series in preparation of my big review video for StellarBlade. I've been playing every single game that is inspired the director Kim Hyung-tae. So we just finished God of War Ragnarok. We've done Sekiro. That was a fun blind playthrough. I did Bayonetta. I did Nier Automata. And the last one that I have to do is Jedi Fallen Order. So that's coming up next in January. But we also like to do challenge runs and speed runs. We just finished a ridiculous challenge run earlier this month. The challenge run was new game hard and no camps. And that's just what if you could imagine never using the camps, which means never using any of the benefits of camps. So no upgrades, no expansion slots, no upgrading your exospines, no damage upgrades, no anything. That was a good one. That was a really great challenge. Check it out. All the VODs are there, and I have a compilation on my channel of every boss fight from that challenge run. So on average, each fight took about 15 minutes because we're doing no damage and everyone's really strong. So that was a good time. And speaking of bosses, in case you're curious about my thoughts on every boss in the game and how I would rank them, here is my boss tier list video. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching, hanging out in the streams, joining our Discord channel. I appreciate all the support this year and look forward to 2025 with you guys. Take care.